Alright, so this here is something that I think you guys might be interested in seeing. This is the Kickstarter paperback edition of A Study of Shattered Spells by Josiah Degraaf. And this is his debut novel, and I just wanted to go ahead and unbox this, go through kind of the things that I got with my tier from the Kickstarter, but then also review kind of what he's done with the book itself, with the things that were sent alongside the book depending upon your tier, and then also look at what he did with the Kickstarter and review all of that, as well as maybe pique your interest on the story itself. So without further ado, let's hop right into that. The book itself actually came really nicely packaged with just a basic cardboard box, but also was well wrapped and thoughtfully wrapped with some bubbles here. But the tier that I got was the $25 paperback, signed paperback tier, and that came, you had the choice to add on your Chintor, whatever, however you're meant to pronounce that Academy acceptance letter. So this is actually something that right off the bat I really appreciated. So the attention to detail, even with the seal, this is something that you could easily, I'm suspecting they probably went through Etsy or something like that, or even were able to design their own and get their own actually real stamp to use there. But it's just something like, this is just cardstock, it's got the basic things. This is probably just built in Canva, but this probably took the author about 30 minutes to design and make, and yet it feels so much more intimate than what other books have done with very similar settings, and this just really sets it apart from those other books. One thing that I would say, I think it would have been really cool to see maybe a little bit more textured paper, something like what I got from the, I think it was from the Oathsworn Chronicles Kickstarter, where they used just a different type of paper for, I think this is like almost a wax paper for their map. And we will get to the map of A Study of Shattered Spells as well, which is, I was very impressed with actually. But I would have really kind of liked to maybe see a little bit more handwritten notes here for this text. But all in all, really well done. I love this detail, and it really will ingrain this story and this experience in the minds of the readers. So well done, Josiah. This was really enjoyable, and I'm just excited to really look a little bit more deeply into this package here. So on to the actual book. As you can probably tell, this is a gloss cover. So this is not matte. I believe there probably was a matte option, maybe not with the Kickstarter, but who knows what it'll look like with the typical Amazon launch or direct reader launch. But everything was well laid out. The design was pretty. The typography fit well to the genre and style. Everything, including back matter, was laid out properly, it looks like. They've got their ISBN laid out there too, so they remembered that, which is good. Let's go through and read some of this back matter really quickly. Only teachers know what really happens at a magic school. Shintor Academy is celebrated as the place where the best music mages are forged, but beneath the surface, bullies roll with cruelty. Teachers scheme against each other, and the student destined to save their nation is far from ready. Kalina didn't know what she was getting into when she agreed to teach at Shintor. Now, as a first-year teacher, she's tasked with finishing the training of this prophesied violinist. Their nation's sworn enemies are nearing victory, and she has mere months to prepare him before their country collapses. When Kalina uncovers the abuse of a vulnerable student, she's thrust into a dangerous dilemma. Exposing the school's underbelly means she'll be fired and unable to prepare their hero. Keeping quiet means her students will suffer. So automatically, it's a really high concept premise there. Where we see kind of a very Harry Potter-esque, something that we all fell in love with, it seems. But then also we're looking at it from the lens of kind of the millennial lens. The author really talks about Josiah Degraaf, who he really impacted me as a writer myself a lot, because he taught at the Young Writers Workshop and the Art Conservatory. But we see, it's shooting towards all the people who grew up with Harry Potter and enjoyed that, and now are old and sympathize maybe more with the teachers than the students, and so it's really appealing to the audience. Was there's a very smart choice, I think, on Josiah's end, and it's just a really fun concept. So let's really quick open this up and look at this a little bit more. So right off the bat, you open the cover and you just have acclaimed for A Study of Shattered Spells. We've got Kara Swanson, author of Ignite and the Dust trilogy. publisher of Lorehaven, author of Unbetrothed, etc. All these different this is the audience of this, or the niche of this author. And then we also have a nice little detail here. So we've got the same emblem as the Shinto Academy seal here, inside kind of embossed into the text, which is onto the page, which is nice. We've also got the signature, very nice signature, Josiah, and just the title page, which is nice and plain, good with the signatures. I'm looking forward to seeing how Josiah will take this and do in-person events eventually. Actually, that wasn't I guess that might have been a signing page, because we might have a double title page here. That's interesting. Got our dedication, and from here there are some fun little illustrations in here. So one of the things that actually really appealed to me about the Kickstarter was the use of illustrations. Josiah was able to bring those into the program rather quickly with his Kickstarter, and the map specifically, which we will get to in a second, was just really pretty. We've got a chapter heading image here. Everything really is just laid out and formatted nicely. There's a consistent pattern or kind of symbolism within the cover, musically, and within the text itself for scene breaks. Looks like they're using the same chapter header image, which is well thought out, well done. Here's some more artwork. This is the black and white edition. I believe that the hardcover deluxe edition from the Kickstarter was actually illustrated in color as well. So if you got that, that's cool. I'm sure there will be a possibility for those to be in color in the future as well. Here's some more diagrams about the magic system. Another really fun thing about the story is that it is also a music-based magic system, which I don't think we see enough nowadays in kind of mainstream, or even sometimes this niche but almost mainstream pieces of fiction, which I hope this will become more of a mainstream piece within the indie scene as we move on. But yeah, let's take a look at that map, because I really love the map. Alright, so the map is really one of the things that really stuck out to me most about. It's just very, very well laid out. The artist, I will try to put the name of the artist on screen here, as well as the color edition of this map, but the map just kind of blew me away with the quality, because we don't see this as much with a lot of books. Take, the Orthstone Chronicles, which was recently on Kickstarter. They did a matte cover, which I love matte covers. I would have loved Study of Shattered Spells even more if they'd done a matte cover, but their map in here is nowhere near the quality. Like, this looks like it was just made with, and this is not trying to be griping on the author. All the books and breakdowns I do here on the channel are not to beat down the author. It's just to look at the quality of the work and the artistry, etc., the quality of the product. This looks like you're making a world anvil almost. There's some custom features. Here's the color edition, which is really pretty still, but it's just not quite as beautiful as what we have here in a Study of Shattered Spells, which just looks so premium. It really pops. This is the kind of art, interior illustrations and maps that I would want to have on my walls in my room. The things that I want to wake up to, maybe stare at and dream about as I go to bed, etc. So yeah, 5 stars with the map. So, I have not yet read A Study of Shattered Spells, and I do want to clarify again that everything I just said, everything I broke down, as I said, I would have loved if this was a matte cover, because gloss has never really appealed to me as a reader, but that's just my opinion, and everything I say here is not dependent upon the story. This is just the packaging of the story, and we're going to do kind of a breakdown on how Josiah also ran the Kickstarter for this book as well, but so far, this has been, what I've delved into has been very enjoyable to read. I've got the ebook about a week ago. I'm just a very slow visual reader. I listen to audiobooks most of the time, and I should have probably just bought the audiobook version of this when they did the Kickstarter, which is the same price as this, but mistakes are in the past. sad voice. But as I said, this is not meant to beat Josiah down. This is meant to really lift him up, look at his work, his packaging, objectively, more so subjectively, let's say that. Look at how we put everything together, what our formatting is going to look like, what our cover looks like, the designing, the printing here, a big thing that can happen with print on demand, which I think Josiah probably sold enough that he could have done offset. I'm not quite sure if he did offset printing or print on demand printing. I would assume probably print on demand, but it's the quality of a offset print, so I'm not quite sure. It looks very nice. Everything's centered well, which is something you'll see a lot of the times on indie books, is because it's print on demand, it won't be centered well within the cover ratio. But I'm very satisfied with the look of this book, especially for his debut, especially for a indie publisher. So very impressed with that. All right, to kick things off, looking at the Kickstarter page, we're just going to scroll through that, and we're going to give you some commentary on what I think Josiah did really well, and what he could have improved in. I don't think there's much that Josiah could have improved on. It was all very enjoyable to be a backer of, to see the progress of as well. He managed his stretch goals very thoroughly, very efficiently, and all in all, I'm pretty sure that Josiah is a student of the author media. I think I've seen him over on authormedia.social a couple times. So he did his homework, he understood Kickstarter, and he really delivered a enjoyable and successful Kickstarter. So let's go and break that down, shall we? Alright, so hopping right into the Kickstarter, Josiah went for a goal of $1,000, which is pretty good for a first debut book on Kickstarter, and he surpassed that phenomenally by about like 2,000% or something like that. I'm not a math guy, I'm an English guy, reaching $24,877 in total. And that'll be split between going to the editors, paying off editing, paying for the book cover, paying for the illustrations, the audiobook, and a big thing is also shipping and fulfillment of that product. So that is something that most readers will not think about. That they see the number, they're like, whoa, Josiah, big paycheck, eh? And sometimes it's not like that. But congratulations, Josiah, on such success with the Kickstarter. That was really cool to see. The tiers were really well done for Josiah's Kickstarter, which I appreciated. Was the margin gap and his audience that he brought with him to Kickstarter. So what I mean is there's a $5,500 tier, and there's also a $10 tier. So this allows the reader who is not wanting to be fully committed to purchase a book, and the reader who wants to be fully committed to have this experience, to have that product of Josiah editing their manuscript, I'm kind of yawning, both be satisfied by this Kickstarter. And that's something that Kickstarter really isn't appeal for, because take Brandon Sanderson for example. It allows the reader to get exactly what they want based upon who they are, how committed a reader they are, etc., which is just really cool to see, and a massive opportunity for authors nowadays. Man, I really am yawning. Yeah, his tiers were laid out really nicely, and then let's talk briefly about his backer count. So Josiah got 497 backers in total, which is crazy, because that means on average his backer count, let's check KickTrack, on average his backers were backing for around $50. So that's one of the advantages of doing Kickstarter launches, because the reader will actually pay more because it's part of this limited exclusive event, which Josiah knows, because I've seen him over on authormedia.social and stuff like that. So he's done his homework, which really resulted in such a great Kickstarter. So one of the things that Josiah did was he spent years developing his email newsletter with your reader magnets, etc. I have one of his reader magnets, his short story collection, over on my e-reader, and I read short stories from that. And so he has thousands, probably thousands, I assume thousands of readers that he brought over from his past experiences. And he was part of the homeschool market a little bit, because he was part of the Young Writers Workshop for quite a while, which I was a part of, and that's how I first came to know Josiah and join his newsletter as well. He's also part of the Author Conservatory, so that's why I believe this section works so well. He is doing manuscript reviews, and we know him as both a writing instructor and a writer himself. So it's a very hard tightrope to walk across and balance, and keep yourself afloat doing that, but Josiah pulled it off. Another big thing is his appeal as a teacher. So Josiah is was, I believe, a high school English teacher. He might still be. And he talked about, I'm in his street gym currently, and he was talking about, being a teacher during COVID and having all these really interesting experiences with that, but that was when he kind of started this a little bit. But seeing the overlap of enjoying stories and writing stories, and then being a millennial who grew up with Harry Potter, etc., and then taking that and building the story where you are a millennial, you're enjoying it, and you're experiencing through the eyes of characters who are kind of like in Harry Potter, but who grew with you. You are now grown with that audience, with that genre, with that niche, and this is just a really ripe field, ready for the harvest, ready for picking. That Josiah took advantage of here. So that was really well done. Everything was positioned really well, and I think this is a great example of Chris Fox's writing to market. It was really a niche that I think needs to be filled, and I'm excited to see more of, especially as he kind of struck the dark academia, but also for his Christian audience, which was really well done. Josiah is a Christian, and it's really reflected in the image or the text that was on the bookmark that came with this edition that I got, which was facing the world, or face the brokenness of the world with confidence, and that's really, really beautiful. So well done, Josiah. So again, this story was positioned brilliantly for its audience. There's a need for this kind of book, and there's an audience that is very, very ready for it in the zeitgeist, the turning of the fourth wheel of this generation, in the sense that we're trending towards more hopeful books, and we're trending towards looking at stories in different ways that we haven't in the last 50 to 20 years. And so I think this book will go on to be something that you can probably say that you read, and read when it first came out on Kickstarter or Amazon, etc. Because I do believe this will go on to make a major splash because of Josiah's very well targeted audience and his targeted launch as well. His street team I'm currently a part of, and it's been really cool seeing the depth to which he's been managing that. So I'm excited to see how well this will perform on Amazon as well, and in just the broad market. So really great book. I'm enjoying this. I will post my review of the book's story and contents once I finish that, but it's been great. So blessings.